Welcome to Everything House Music and More, and my special guest today is all the way from Germany, is my man, Robert Owens. Mr. Owens, how are you, sir?
I'm fine. Thank you for having me on your show,
Man,
sir.
thank you, brother. This is an honor right here, brother. So you ready to get into it?
Yeah, let's make it happen.
All right, let's do it. So, Robert, where are you from, and tell us about where and how you grew up.
Well, I was born in Warren, Ohio. I grew up between Chicago, New York, and LA, and I have family in all those areas, but I probably permanently resided in Chicago because of my grandmother and her raising me from very young.
Okay.
And then so that's where I got my Chicago house roots is from
Wow.
Chicago.
Okay.
But when I was based in LA, I sung with James Cleveland, the Voices of Cornerstone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and for a little while I sung with the Southern Community Choir because of going back and forth with staying with different family, you jump right into these different things.
Right.
But even in California, I just stumbled by the church by accident and heard somebody singing in there and walked in and they said, you got to join. So sometimes I think, through life, you are divinely guided, to certain things, when you just, it's almost knowing without knowing. And, that church really inspired me, as far as learning about different ranges in singing and everything. You know, that's where I can go in and do all of the different voices. In the backgrounds of tracks that I do,
Nice.
Because they put me in different areas from the altos to the baritones, tenors.
So you
and
knew
everything.
exactly where that fall into place with that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So before you made house records, were you connected to the house culture?
No, I think I've just kind of again stumbled to the warehouse and stuff later in life, but before that, I tell people I come in off of the disco era. When I was residing here in Chicago, I used to go up. I mainly lived up north most of the time. Okay, so Coconuts, Flamencos, DN1, those kind of clubs. I had fake ID as just a young kid and going into these kind of clubs. So I was exposed to the disco, Ron Hardy, and these type areas before the house thing.
So even before you made the records and everything, you was just going to the clubs first.
Yeah. And this is where I found out about him playing at the Den One, and then me going back and forth in California. I knew he was at the Catch One.
Wow.
But before he passed, I mentioned to them yesterday, I went back and I rented out the Den One before it closed. Okay. And I hired Ron to come and play. Oh, my
as
a homage.
Now, what year was that?
This was, when was I in New York? Maybe about, it's in the 80s, some point in the 80s. It was like maybe 2 weeks before he passed. Wow. And then the next week they told me he passed. Yeah. I was actually living in New York, and me and Frankie Knuckles was roommates at this time.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
In New York?
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. See, I never knew that.
Yeah, me and Frankie was roommates for a while.
Wow.
So yeah, it's like a big history with me and a lot that people don't know about. Maybe because I've always been the quiet one, and then too at a distance away. And often, with Chicago, like when I did live here, if you went from the west side to the south side, it was a big deal. Yeah. So me going to England or over anywhere in Europe, it was like, oh, he deserted us. Right. So it's like people never, you kind of lost contact with a lot of people here. Okay.
So besides Ronnie and Frankie Knuckles, what DJs and records do you remember being influenced by?
Larry Levan. We used even with a good thing I got a chance to talk to these people, and it's a lot of the legends. I mentioned to them yesterday. Even I had a chance to sit down with Miles Davis. I've been Sylvester's PA for an evening, laid out his clothes and talked to him. I've done shows with Grace Jones, Lolita Holloway, Jocelyn Brown, and so I come up in the circuit of those disco. Correct. Giants they gave me inspiration, and I try to pass that back on now in present day to any young person that I meet and stuff. I was new and didn't know nothing about what was going on, like a kid in a candy store. So this is also where like I meet people. It's like I can tell you about all of these giants, but when we walked through a door, we walked through together.
Together. Yeah.
You know, and I think that's important, you know, to make people feel as relaxed as possible, and then they want to give their best.
Wow.
You know, and they want to fall into that unconditional sense of thinking. You know, I think that's important.
That's nice. That's nice. So this is the ongoing debate. We're trying to figure it out and just get, you know, the gist of it. In your opinion, how did you think house music got its name?
They've mentioned this to me, you know, it's the two variations here.
Yes.
Like when we was coming up, we were doing stuff in our house, in basements and everything.
Okay.
But now you got warehouse, the name ending in house. I've heard Frankie say that some kids came to him and just said, you know, it's that music you be doing at our house music.
Right.
So he said the club kids kind of gave it the name, but I'd say it's it's between the two scenarios because we were doing stuff in our house.
Correct.
And then we were giving them things, you know, our minuscule things in these drum machines and stuff, and them playing against stuff with this full orchestral stuff, you know.
Right.
So I think it's hard. It's hard for me to
because we have Wayne Williams, you know, Chosen Few founder. He said the term house music came from people playing disco music in the basement, you know, at the parties and everything. And he was just saying that's where they played, you know, house music. That's where the term came from.
Really, I never thought about it from that angle. You know?
Right. So that could be an angle
too.
Yeah,
but we did. I did a lot of house parties.
Right. So, in your opinion, Robert, what do you think of the first house records that you heard, and what do you think was the first house record, as we should say?
The first house song, would be Jamie Principle for me.
Your Love,
Yeah.
Now, that wasn't released yet, but it was just
that I heard as a song,
right?
Because like even the early days, I know Pierre and everybody was doing things, but I hadn't heard everybody's thing because Marshall and them was doing things. The first house tour, I'd say it was Marshall, Kevin Irvin, Frankie, and all of us was there together. But the first house songs that I've heard was probably Jamie Principle.
Okay, we're gonna go with that, Robert. You the high above the altar, so you know we gonna take your word on that one, brother. So, so how did you and Larry Heard meet, and how was Fingers Inc. formed?
Well, I had a protege, Tony Harris, that I was teaching to DJ. Okay. Because in that early period, I was doing little bars and house parties here in Chicago, and even some high schools and stuff. We do the dormitories or whatever in the gymnasiums in the high schools and stuff. And I was doing parties, and so Tony brought Larry to one of the parties and introduced us, and then I went over to his house with just a book of words, I think, the next day. Right. And he started playing some music, and I was like, I got some words to match with that. Oh, wow. And it just was natural. And so every time he put on something, I match a word to it and a set of lyrics to it. And then he said, you want to form a group? I'm like, okay, why not? So then Fingers Inc. was instantly born. And his first material, Ron Hardy had got sick, so Robert Williams asked me to come to the music box to play, and so I played Mystery of Love, Can You Feel It, Washing Machine, all of that stuff in there, probably first before it got out there to any of the bigger clubs and stuff. And I think I played Mysteries of Love about 3 or 4 times, and it looked like people went into a trance. Wow. And I was like, this kid got something here, you know. And because I was the club kid and he was more like just the computer, you know, just genius kind of, So I was the one. At one point I had a flood of material by him that he didn't even have because he would like go to erase something. And I was like, no, let me get a copy of that and copy it down, you know. And even later in life, he said he didn't have the same kind of emotion with creating because I wasn't there. A lot of that stuff was created with us in a room together. And that's also where I try to encourage younger people that you're unique. Yeah. And, you know, never compare yourself to no one else. When you walk into a room, you are a unique individual. And when you go and collaborate with another individual, each of you are unique. So y'all going to automatically create something unique.
There you go.
You know,
there
and
you
so
go. So that creative process of you and Larry that was in there, it was both like you was writing, he was producing.
Yeah.
Did you ever come in with any type of music parts or anything in any of the songs that you created?
Sometimes I would, but even to date, I said with me, at one point I had an 11-piece band.
Oh, really?
In England, you know, so I sat with the musicians and I just sing melodies to them and they play it. You know, and even I could do minor chord progressions and stuff, but then they would embellish it into bigger chord progressions and stuff. So to date, again, because of the choir and stuff and me knowing natural tones and registering natural to tones, and at an average you could put a track in probably most keys and I just automatically adjust without knowing. And you know, I at one point I thought about taking lessons, and then someone said, well, you might lose your natural ability to just you know, interact with
because once you become music, you know,
I'll be aware.
Music theory, it's different. You be like, that's not right. That chord's not right. They don't go with that. And that ability to, absolutely. I feel you in that. So, Robert, one of your biggest records outside of Fingers Inc. was Tears. Mm-hmm. How did that collaboration come about?
We mentioned this yesterday. My mother was there, and like I wrote it. Well, Frankie came and he was playing at Mars.
Okay.
And they said, he's been looking for you and he wants you to hear this song. And so I went down and I was like, okay. And he's like, I want you to write something, sing on this song. And so he played it. And I was like, okay. And I just had the melody in my head. So I went back home and I wrote the words. And then I let my mother see what I wrote. And she said, that sounds cool. Oh, wow. And so I called him and then I recited the words over the phone. And he said, we flying you in the next day. And they flew me to New York and took me straight in the studio. And then that's how it happened.
Wow. Okay, so when did you move overseas, and how has it been living abroad right now?
God, it's so overwhelming, man. I think the first house tour, again, back in like 84, 83 or something, we all went over, and they just embraced me instantly, you know, and I started going back and forth visiting after the first house tour. And then at some point they was like, you just got to stay. And they started taking over my management and everything, you know, and trying to correct things that was, you know, with the whole house system.
Wasn't correct at the time because we didn't know about it.
We ain't putting nobody under the bus. It was a lot of unnecessary stuff that they corrected where I was just like, oh, forget it. Let's just move on. Oh, wow. And they was like, no, we got to try to sort something out here. But from there, I ended up at one point working with this record label, Freetown Records. And more or less was head A&R in that, and that's where the 11-piece band came in. I put together a whole studio session of engineers and programmers, and sometime I was in there 16 hours straight on the couch, waking up and then singing and making tracks for these people. We did showcases and everything. We put together a choir. And from there, they found out I was in England, so I started doing Italy, France, even David Guetta's first record on major label. I was there and introducing, Sony and stuff. So I used to do Van Douche, La Palace, Queen Club, and like I was going back and forth, Hype Club in Italy to Angels of Love. It's so many.
Love, yes.
Yeah, and it just became overwhelming where, you know, it's like, well, you can't really go back because it's just too much every week between what was going on in England and then the next week I was out. It just became overwhelming.
So you moved there during the 80s?
Yeah, officially probably 91 was officially the full. Yeah, before that I was just going back and forth and lived in New York for a little while before that. So I left Chicago and Frankie and them got me over there. So that's where I ended. At first I was in a apartment with Frankie, and then I had my own solo apartments and stuff over there. And then from there I went over to England.
Nice. So, Robert, when did you start DJing and touring?
DJing was back in the 80s and stuff, before, again, around the flamenco, coconut den Mondays, around that period.
So you were spinning before
I made records, I was actually spinning and doing house parties.
I did not know that.
And then the whole house community, see in this period, you know, when I started meeting and hanging out with Frankie and all of them, a lot of these kids was house hopping from your Gene Hunts to the K. Alexi and all of them. We would go from house to house. And Frankie and them, what is he doing? What is he playing? So we see each other in the record stores and stuff. So it's a whole history of us hanging out. I was even doing pause edits and stuff, giving them to Frankie and Ronnie and stuff.
Okay.
Back then, we had the Pioneer deck with the pitch control on it.
Right, exactly.
And all of that. So, it's a whole history there that people probably don't know about, that I was there and doing.
So did you ever do contract work with Larry Sherman at the time for Trex Records?
Yes, I actually was the one that introduced Larry Heard to me and Harold Dennis, who, was the first one.
Really? That was my next question was yes.
Yeah, and Harold came to me with his first tracks, which I didn't even know Larry was involved, but he just came to me with, I think it was maybe about 3 or 4 tracks. And I picked Donnie to be his first track.
Really?
And he asked me to come into the studio and help him with the...
I was like,
well, I can't really sing on this because I'm part of Fingers Inc. And I'm in the booth with him, working out the parts with him in the booth. And Chippy on the other side, say, sing that, go on and do that. And so Chippy actually recorded me down when I'm saying, well, I'm just here to help him.
Right.
I ain't actually supposed to be on the song. And then... Ron Hardy heard the track, and then I think Chip got him in to do a mix, and that's how it kind of first kicked off.
Wow.
And then it went over to New York,
right?
And then you had your Tony Humphries and Larry Levan that they kicked it off, in the New York area, and then it just blew up. I remember us doing Paradise Garage. I go on first with Fingers Inc. And do the set with Larry, and then I come back on and do the It set with Harold.
Wow!
So I was the original It.
Yeah. That's what Harry was telling me at first.
Yeah.
So who were the original members of Fingers Inc. first started out with?
Me and Larry Heard.
You and Larry Heard.
Yeah, we was the first 2 members, and then he brought in Ron Wilson, and so then I started writing parts for Ron into the songs.
Okay. Wow. And what year was that, Robert?
This is in the 80s. I think the first album we officially did probably came out 84 or something.
And it was at DJ International, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We did the track stuff and then DJ International.
Right.
And then the full Tracks album, it was the Tracks UK too.
Ah, yeah, that's
so we went over there and did that.
Okay, that's right. I remember that. Okay. So if you had a tour request and money is exactly the same, but you have to choose between singing or DJing, which one would you choose and why?
They're both, different parts of me. It's hard to say I would choose one or the other, you know, because to date, when I perform, it's a DJ vocal set.
Yeah.
So I feel the need to get on the mic to just say, hey, I'm here.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's, a natural extension for me to do both. In the early stages, it was first the DJing.
Right.
And even in the early stages, too, I used to record my voice onto cassettes and play them over the tracks and tell people that was my friend and what they thought of him. I didn't even tell people it was me because I was like, oh, they're gonna hate me and stuff or whatever. They might not like this voice.
Right.
So I would say the DJing came first. But to date, everywhere in Europe I go, they know that they expect me to sing, you know. So I think I haven't had the opportunity to perform too much here in America, which I'm hoping, in the future that it materializes.
Absolutely.
That I'm able to come back and play more and stuff here. Yes. And for people to see the 2 aspects, because even with today, it's like, okay, you got 30 minutes, and it's like, okay, I gotta do one of them, cram it in, and bam, boom, bam.
Right.
I was like, they don't realize that it's I'm actually a DJ too.
Yeah.
So I think it throws people, and it comes by surprise to see somebody doing that.
Absolutely.
And I fought for that because at one period, even working with a lot of people, and we're gonna go into names, it was like you can't do both. And, why can't you? You should be able to do anything in this life that your heart drives you to want to do.
That's right.
And you should be around people that support and push you towards doing what you feel the contentment and fulfillment in your heart. They should push you to do those things.
Yeah, that's good. So let me ask you this, Robert. How did the collaboration between you and David Morales come with "I'll Be Your Friend"?
Okay, that was a makeup song. That
was a makeup song. Explain that, please.
Yeah, well, being part of Def Mix, at points I would fall out with them, where I'm very easygoing.
Right.
But sometimes, it would get to points where and I'm not going into no driven details.
Absolutely.
But they weren't happy and I wasn't happy with certain situations, but we made up, and it's like, okay, come over, I got this song, and I'd come over, and I was like, okay, what can I think of to go with this? And I was like, well, this is a makeup scenario, so I was like, okay, well, I'll be your friend despite all or whatever, and then he's like, okay, so he hooked the mic up in the bathroom and said, okay, go sing it, and I went in
Really?
First pass, and then I forgot all about it, and I think I was in Japan, and they was like, you on the red, it's like, you are #1 in New York. I was like, really?
Right.
But even before that, I was at the Sound Factory because Frankie Knuckles had took over from Junior Vasquez.
Right.
And he played it maybe about 4 times, and the fourth time, every time it came on, I was with a group of people. We'd jump up, there go that song, and then somebody said, "Fool, that's you singing, ain't it?" And I was like, I was like, I forgot all about it.
Right,
I thought that they didn't like it, and that's the other thing, often I'll do something, and then if they don't jump right on it, I just assume they don't like it, and I keep pushing it.
Yeah.
Just pushing forward, with it. But he kept playing it, and then I think later I went to Japan, and then I was over there, and they said, you're #1 in America. I was like, really?
Yeah.
So you just never know
Wow.
with tracks, and things.
Absolutely. So as one of the voices of House, Robert, is there a particular collaboration you love more than others, or is there a collaboration that you would like to see happen?
God, everything is a moment in time.
Okay.
You can get nostalgic about. You can hear something and you automatically, for me, it takes me back to a moment in time.
Yes.
It's like us listening to classics or something. I could hear a classic and it could take me straight back to the warehouse or music box. And again, I said to you earlier, every individual that you work with is unique. So, present day, whoever I'm working with, that's going to create something unique and some from a certain angle, so I couldn't say that one situation is better than the other.
No,
and even the yesterday interview, and he said, you keep moving around the slot. But it's like, to me, that's a good way to explain it. Yes. No artist is more special than another artist to me, again, because everybody's unique.
Yeah.
And everybody's given something from their heart at that particular moment of place and time.
Right. So go back a couple of questions. You said you were signed to Def Mix Productions before?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I was signed to Def Mix.
What year was that?
About 85.
Wow.
No, was it 85, 86, 87? Up in that period.
Right.
Because I went to England, but then I came back.
Okay.
And then Larry Heard got a deal with, was it MCA or something?
I believe so, yeah. MCA,
and
that's right.
He wanted to go solo, so that's where the group broke up. Because he wanted to go solo when he got that deal. And so I was like, cool, you do your thing.
Right. It was no hard feelings?
No, it wasn't no hard feelings. And so Frankie found out, and he was like, well, we want you to come to New York. And this is where Tears and all of that came in. And then they asked me to do the Island album.
Right.
So that came in that period. As soon as he got that deal, they just, we'll snatch you up.
Right. See, that's something, that's little fun facts right there. Didn't I know that? So what is a Robert Owens DJ set like?
A roller coaster ride.
Okay.
Yeah, take you up and then run, take you up. It's like... And from techno to disco, I could take you from all extremes.
Right. No, that's good. So what records do you love right now?
I go through 500 tracks probably per week. When I go back to Berlin to go look at my inbox, I didn't even bring the laptop with me to deal with it. At any given time, it's over 3,000 tracks in my inbox from labels bombarding me with in-flight and a bunch of, just systems. Sometimes you could be sitting with me and it just goes click, click. And sometimes I just erase it because it becomes overwhelming, and I use the digital format these days. Back in the day when we was doing vinyl, I couldn't remember the name or something, but I remembered the cover.
Right.
I know
we all remember that, right?
Yeah, track 3 on this one is,
Absolutely.
I know that's bumping. And then after a couple months that passed, you knew the tracks.
Yeah.
Now, think about it now digitally.
Yeah.
At any given time, I'm carrying over 3,000 tracks on these USB sticks and stuff.
Yeah.
I just create a basic group of folders and say, okay, I'm going to work with these folders at the moment.
Right. Oh, that's good. So will there be any new Fingers Inc.'s record in the future?
That's, I still got material by him that we did that never came out.
Wow. And you still have the vocals and everything?
The vocals and everything. But
Robert, you sitting on a gold mine, man.
But, it's like things happen and it's like, we had to move on. It's like, even some things I had to pull, and I did 2 acapella packages from Loop Masters, Loop Clouds.
Right.
And on the second acapella package, I put a couple of those tracks on because I was like, well, it don't look like this stuff is going to come out.
Right.
But it's like I did a lot of tracks with different artists, and they just were sitting there.
Yeah.
And like Darren Emerson and a few other people, they just recently did a track on Known Love with me. I did that track 13 years ago.
Wow.
And then now they come back to me and say, oh, I finally think I got a mix.
Right.
I was like, well, now, I'm grandpa here, I'm
but
getting old. I can't keep
right.
waiting on y'all to
But
finally
I can understand that, though, because sometimes you just got to sit and just come organically. So I understand that.
But while they sitting, I said, let me just throw these acapellas out there so anybody can be accessible to anybody to use.
Right.
Anybody that might like my voice, they could take a track there and they can create their own track. Right. You don't even have to use my name on it and worry about nobody coming to you talking about this, and that. Create your own thing, to cut down this whole thing, or this is mine and that's, I look at myself as a fountain flowing. Absolutely. I can go in the studio and do an album in a week. I can do a track instantly like that if I'm working with competent people,
Absolutely.
And so why should you suppress that? Right. We only here for a minute, and so, give while you here. You should think about what did you do and what you leave behind for humanity, Right. And it's for me, that's where it's all about, and again, I'm grandpa, so it's like, let me get it out while I can.
Right. So, Robert, coming from Chicago, was there another Chicago record that you was like, wow, I wish I made that record?
Unlimited Touch, Search to Find the One.
Searching to Find the One?
A Stealing Watermelons, the Chambers Brothers.
Really? Wow. Okay.
If we were to get nostalgic and take you back on a couple.
So that's one of the records you like, I wish I did that one. Wow.
Well, two that were really felt special to me in the day.
Okay.
But again, I come out of that the chess records into the Prelude, Salsa, and all of that. I was in the clubs, and then I look back and how carefree things was back then. And how the music was a form of religion to me almost. You went to these clubs to lose any kind of emotion you was dealing with. You might have been dealing with a bunch of negativity in the family and your job environment, everything. You went in those clubs and you forgot all of that.
Absolutely.
And you left there going back to work, and you'd be on work and you'd be singing them tunes, and you felt better about the work day.
Right.
And, I try to bring that energy, to present when I'm playing, or how I try to translate, information to people and give. I try to bring that same energy that they gave me then now.
Nice. Now, what do you think the future of house music is at right now?
I think it's in a good state. But again, I don't know what's going on here in America, but in Europe, it's in a great state, especially Berlin. You have clubs in Berlin that open on a Thursday and close on a Tuesday.
Right.
So, it's really flourishing, and, you have lines down. It looked like it's an endless line. I just played at a place, Sage Beach, And people's like, man, can you get me in there? And it's free to get in.
Right.
But it's a line, look like a mile down, and then I get in there and it's ram packed.
Right.
So this is standard almost in most places in Berlin in club land. And then you have a lot of the festival things over there. Glastonbury is an amazing festival. I used to do that before, but it looks like just a whole city.
Right.
And you promising people you're going to get to the event and you never make it because it's just... It might take you an hour to get to one section to the other, in these kind of places,
Wow.
So I think it's a beautiful, thriving thing going right on over there in Europe, and I'm looking forward to hopefully coming back and seeing what's going on in America again.
Yeah. So were there a difference, like how living here in the States and then going over in Germany, did you have to change your writing skills or writing the way you write?
No, they just embraced me as who I was. And it's like I also try to give that energy back too. If I meet you and we get a vibe, I automatically pull you in as family.
Yes.
I think that's important to always make people feel relaxed and to want to give their best and naturally, not feel threatened. Right. Because I also seen from another angle where, certain areas in this industry, if you're around the wrong people, they can make you feel a threatened energy instead of wanting to give, you know. And it's important, I think that, well, at least for me and what I want to give, to let people feel, comfortable and relaxed to do their best.
All right. Well, Robert, I appreciate this, man. I know you're busy, man. You got to get back to Germany.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
I love you, brother. I love you for doing
too,
this, man. And
thank you.
Everybody, make sure you come check out Robert. It was the social media. He's on Instagram, Facebook. You can check him out on there. Anything else you want to say to the people out there, Robert?
I love you, my brothers and sisters.
All right, everybody. Thank you so much for tuning in to Everything House Music and More. Make sure you click the button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the notification button, and download the Everything House Music app. And once again, Robert, thank you so much.
Thank you too, Maurice.
All right, peace out.
I'm grateful.